Crypto Monolithies, or should I say welcome back. So, I don't know what's going on, but it's acting weird. So, in the before something is going fishy, so I'll do this a quick way. So, Zuko became a monster. Like, because his soul, his powers, and his quirk fused together to create, was when they were fusing into one, he became or he became this big monster and rampage, and the, of course, Ochako tries to tell him that to like that after this they eat, and of course the because as she tells him why him she didn't why she didn't date him in the first place was she loved him. She said that to him before. And yeah. But then she also said me and Bakuo try to like be super nice about it. Oh, so she was being super helpful. And so the government from another countries, like other countries, used 5 missiles, or 5 different countries shot like 5 of their nukes right at Zuku. And of course, Zuku did take Ochako away because to protect her, as the explosions, or he tried to run away, but his kneecap was busted before because the military guys sent in they did everything like, as he as when all for one, or no, not all for one, all might, actually not all might, Ochako sees Zuko, who's about to, and so she ends up feeling sadness because she is watching her own brother, or no, not her brother, her own boyfriend get murdered. As, yeah. So, but the Zuko is immortal, so don't like, I'm not doing anything crazy. Or this is kind of crazy. So Zuko ends up so a piece of Zuko Hoon's like flesh flew all the way into the forest, and what found or in the one before, it was the Quark Doctor, but Zuko's flesh. Zuko regenerated his body. He came out of it. He like opened it was like a cocoon. And yeah. So then he went to showers before, under waterfall thing, as he felt so. He never saw Ochako's face look so sad before. Even, yeah. So, but the only, they thought he was gone. So, man, the couple of days after that, during the overhaul fight, how long has this video gone? Okay. So, in the original one, before it got corrupted somehow, was that Zuko, so overhaul was about, or he says, it's time for you to die. As Zuko was, or out of nowhere, they hear this sound out of nowhere, and a big bolt of lightning just hits Overhaul with enough force from the kick. And it didn't kill him. So, Zuko comes out back to life. As Zumi was terrified. But then when she heard the sound, or she heard someone talking to her, they looked around. But then when she turns to see her own brother right in front of her, as he says, you better stay clear from this area, little sister. Let your big brother help do it. So then he goes over to Overhaul. That was down, but he's like, how did you manage to survive, Zuko Midoriya? He basically, when Ochako heard that, she looked at Zuko. She sees him standing there. And he says, now, you hurt my little sister. As a big monstrous arm comes out of nowhere, slams into Overhaul. I almost said All for One, but Overhaul. But instead of killing him, it broke him back into the 5 pieces. 5 different people. Overhaul and his 4 goons. So then when they got back to the dorms, Ochako, they asked him a bunch of questions that they thought it was the imposter, that Zuko was dead, but then, of course, he says, if I'm dead, would you see some floating, legs around me? And how did you... And he did bring his own, where he was at, the flesh thing, with him. As he looked over, and it was, So, they're like, Yeah. This is when I... But man, that was painful. As Recovery Girl says to Zuko that, yeah, in my entire life I've never seen someone actually merge their quirk and their powers. Zuko also said, and their soul, don't forget. Really? Their soul too? Yeah. It was a pretty painful process. So now I went from Zuko the quirkless to Zuko the pass of elements. Yeah. So I'm saying elements like in earth, fire, air, water, electricity, everything. So then so they didn't get rid of his room or his, yeah. So he goes in to his bedroom. As he went through a lot of crazy stuff, during the combine thing, he ended up seeing all of the alternate versions of himself. Like All Might, Endeavor, actually he saw so many different... He saw so many alternate versions of himself from all the what ifs that's been on YouTube. I mean, all of them. He saw himself as Giganton's Leviathan. He saw himself as Godzilla's reincarnation. He saw himself as yeah. So, he saw himself, yeah. So then, it was during that merge, and he saw that. As he lays down, in his own bed, man, as he says, man, it feels great to... If I had to choose between going into that world or dating ochako whole thing, I would rather choose to date ochako over the going through that again. As he says that quietly so that no one could hear him. So he says it so quietly, as even ochako was like right next to him, laying, or like she was sitting on a floor with like, you know how like anime characters, they sit on a floor and they have their hands or their heads laying on their arms with... Yeah. It was like that, but with... yeah. So ochako, so the next morning he gets up. Of course, ochako was there. She told him that basically to go on a date with her. So he actually... So his parents came to see him And how did it feel? As Osashi says, how did it feel? Well, not very good, but there's one upside and one downside. The upside or the downside was me in a lot of pain in on converging it. But the upside was the seeing so many alternate versions of yourself. Really? Yeah. I saw myself as if I had Bakugo's powers, what would I look like as Bakugo? Or yeah, there's so many. Yeah. But yeah. And plus, if I had to choose as between two things, I know that I'll probably make Ochako a little bit blushed, but if I had to choose between going and seeing all the alternate versions of myself or the seeing, let's see how long, okay, seeing or date or no, what was I, okay, so the first option was to see or to go to see the alternate versions. That's what Zuko is saying. Or dating Ochako. And you know what he said? He chose to rather date Ochako than going through that. It was real pain. And Ochako had that face. I mean, she was like, she literally was blushing. And some of the students asked him, why do you pick that second option thing? Well, in where I went to, I saw like it's just scary. Just imagine, you know that term, or you know that phrase that everyone says, be in someone else's shoes thing? Well, imagine yourself in my shoes. Basically, like, in my situation. There was actually that same thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, he wants to, or so he will pick for example, as he chose Mina as example. Imagine if Mina was me. Basically, she had green skin, green hair, green eyes. And it would have been, yeah. So everyone was like, is that what it was? It was like me with using all of your quirks. And plus, these shards that I saw, or I looked through, I saw like a giant size monster, looks like a fish. And they called him Gargantuan Leviathan Zuko. What? Wait, so what does he do? Well, he transforms into the big monster and eats other creatures to get stronger. But he is dating, or he actually got married, Herring. To who? As Ochako thought it was her. But Zuko, who says, Gargantuan Leviathan version of me, actually dated Momo. As Momo's surprised about this. So, yeah. Man. You're saying, as she says, you're saying that I named a giant monster? Yeah, weaker than, or smaller than me. Remember that big monster form that I took? Yeah. It was weaker. Or that Gargantuan Leviathan was a little bit weak, like watered down. Wow. Ooh. Okay. Tell me. And she says, tell me. What was I doing in that? Yeah. So, each one. So you had a crush on him. I see. So then, now, it is, but so then Zuko says decides, like, that was too scary for me. I don't want to do that ever again. Ugh. It almost killed me. So, yeah. So then Bakugo's like, yeah, I agree. As everyone agrees, you would rather date Ochako than going through that again. Ochako and Zuko did get married and had 2 kids. So, now this is the end of the video. Please leave a like, share, subscribe. Peace out, y'all.